A lot of things have been said, and a lot have been very hurtful.
On screen, they were the ultimate sisters, fierce, magical, and inseparable. Fans of Charmed in the late 90s believed Alyssa Milano and Shannen Doherty shared the same bond off-camera that they portrayed as Phoebe and Prue Halliwell. Magazine, covers, red carpet smiles, and carefully staged interviews all seemed to prove it. Hollywood sold the fantasy of sisterhood, and audiences bought every frame. But behind the enchanted facade, tensions simmered. Whispers of arguments on set began to leak into gossip columns. Cast and crew noticed strained silences, awkward photo ops, and subtle digs in interviews. By the time the third season ended, those whispers had become headlines, and one of the show's biggest stars walked away. Was this ever a friendship? Or was it always just a contract wrapped in glitter and spellbooks? Could the magic of television hide a reality that was far less harmonious? The story of Alyssa Milano and Shannen Doherty isn't just about two actresses clashing. It's about the Hollywood machine, how it fabricates illusions of intimacy, and how those illusions inevitably crack. Next, we step back to the beginning, when the promise of sisters forever was first manufactured. When Charmed premiered on the WB network in October 1998, it was marketed as more than just another supernatural drama. The network positioned it as a story of women's empowerment, built on the magical bond of three sisters. Shannen Doherty, already famous from Beverly Hills 90210, was cast as Prue Halliwell, the protective eldest sister. Alyssa Milano, a familiar face from Who's the Boss, stepped in as Phoebe Halliwell, the spirited youngest. Alongside Holly, Marie Combs, the trio became the new faces of late 90s girl power. From the very beginning, publicity campaigns hammered the idea of genuine closeness. Promotional posters didn't just show three witches. They showed three women leaning into each other, smiling like lifelong friends. In November 1998, TV Guide released a cover calling them The Witching Sisters Who Cast a Spell on America. The feature article highlighted their instant chemistry and quoted Alyssa describing her co-stars as family. The illusion was powerful, and it worked. The show debuted to strong Nielsen ratings, drawing more than 7.7 million viewers. For its pilot episode, red-carpet appearances reinforced the narrative. At the 1999 People's Choice Awards, the trio appeared arm-in-arm in coordinated black gowns. Entertainment shows like Access Hollywood and Entertainment Tonight aired clips of their synchronized laughter, framing them as inseparable both on and off the screen. Publicists ensured that when one was booked on a late-night talk show, the other two often appeared in some capacity, whether through backstage banter, joint interviews, or playful pre-taped segments. Behind these carefully orchestrated appearances was a deliberate strategy by the WB. The late 1990s was a competitive moment for network television, with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Dawson's Creek, and Ally McBeal targeting similar demographics. Executives understood that audiences craved not only stories of friendship, but the illusion that those friendships extended beyond the screen. The sisterhood of Charmed wasn't just part of the script. It became a brand. Magazines amplified the myth. In June 1999, Rolling Stone featured the three actresses in a provocative photo shoot titled Witchcraft in the Modern Age. Styled in glossy leather outfits and posed like a rock band, the images were meant to scream unity, power, and feminine confidence. Interviews repeatedly stressed how well they clicked, with Holly Marie Combs even remarking in one spread, "It feels like we've known each other forever." The machinery extended beyond print. By Season 2 in 1999, the WB produced glossy behind-the-scenes specials, where the actresses were filmed joking between takes. These clips aired during primetime slots, offering fans a curated peek into a real friendship. Fans who recorded episodes on VHS often kept those promos, replaying moments that suggested the cast's camaraderie was authentic. But perhaps the most telling example of how the friendship was packaged came during the 2000 Teen Choice Awards. Alyssa and Shannen accepted the award for Choice TV Show, Fantasy/Sci-Fi on behalf of Charmed. Standing together on stage, Shannen thanked "My sisters, who make every day on set magical." The clip was replayed across entertainment news outlets for weeks, cementing the belief that their bond was as real as their fictional magic. To the average viewer, there was no reason to question it. On television screens, in glossy magazines, and across red carpets, Alyssa Milano and Shannen Doherty were marketed as sisters not just by bloodline in a script, but by fate in real life. The illusion of closeness became a cultural fact, repeated so often that it solidified into something resembling truth. But beneath the surface, the pressure of maintaining that image was already straining the cast. As the cameras stopped rolling, and the red carpet lights dimmed, subtle cracks began to show, cracks that would soon grow into undeniable fractures. Behind the glossy magazine covers and choreographed interviews, tensions between Alyssa Milano and Shannen Doherty were quietly growing. At first, they were little more than whispers, shared in fan forums and gossip columns. But by the second season of Charmed in 1999, the cracks were noticeable enough that insiders began to talk. Money and credit were at the heart of the issue. Shannen Doherty entered the series with star power from her days on Beverly Hills, 90210, giving her an unspoken authority on set. She was listed as one of the show's executive producers in certain promotional material, and her character Prue was clearly written as the leader of the Halliwell sisters. Alyssa Milano, however, was no longer just the former child star. She had been labeled in the early 90s. By the late 90s, she was reinventing herself, drawing new fans and steadily gaining influence with the network. Industry trade articles noted in 2000 that Milano had renegotiated aspects of her contract, with her salary per episode approaching parity with Doherty's. This shift in balance created friction. Crew members recalled moments when Shannen challenged decisions made by directors or producers, only for Alyssa to voice a contrasting opinion minutes later. These clashes, though subtle, created an atmosphere of divided loyalties. By season 2, set photographers noted how often Milano and Doherty were placed apart in promotional shots, unless a three-sister pose was mandatory. Fans, too, began to sense something was off. Online forums like CharmedNet and theub.com message boards lit up with discussions about why Alyssa and Shannen seemed colder in behind-the-scenes specials. In one fan-circulated clip from a 1999 press junket, Alyssa joked about long days when some people take things too seriously, prompting an awkward smile from Shannen. Seated beside her, patterns of absence became increasingly obvious. At charity events or promotional appearances, the actresses sometimes attended separately despite both being scheduled. By 2000, when Alyssa appeared on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, she spoke warmly about Holly Marie Combs, but mentioned Shannen only briefly. And without the affectionate tone fans had come to expect. Social media had not yet exploded, but gossip columns filled the gap. In December 2000, the New York Post's Page 6 section ran a piece hinting at discord on the Charmed set. While no names were printed, insiders quickly linked the two actresses at odds to Milano and Doherty. Shortly after, Entertainment Weekly quoted a WB executive off the record saying, "It's not unusual for strong personalities to clash, but this one feels different. Even their working styles seem to clash." Shannen, known for her intensity, often pushed for more dramatic interpretations of scenes. She liked control, precision, and a level of seriousness that reflected her desire to be taken as a mature actress. Alyssa, in contrast, embraced spontaneity. Crew accounts suggested she could be playful on set, joking with the crew between takes, while Shannen stayed focused and aloof. What could have been complementary styles instead became polarizing, each interpreting the other's behavior as disrespect. By the time Season 3 began filming in 2000, the whispers had become open speculation. Tabloids reported that the two actresses were no longer speaking off-camera. A crew member later revealed in an interview with True Hollywood Story, 2003, that they would communicate through Holly Marie Combs when necessary, but rarely directly. Holly became the reluctant mediator, navigating two co-stars who no longer trusted each other. The numbers didn't lie either. During Season 3's press tour in 2000, Shannen appeared in fewer joint interviews with Alyssa than in previous years. Fans noticed, asking pointed questions at conventions and online. Why aren't they promoting together anymore? The lack of shared promotion only reinforced the perception that their friendship, if it had ever existed, was unraveling. The tension reached the point where speculation about contract disputes surfaced. Though no official figures were released, industry insiders suggested a widening pay gap between the actresses fueled resentment. Shannen, once the unchallenged lead, now faced the reality that Alyssa was fast becoming the fan favorite. By early 2001, the situation could no longer be brushed aside as rumor. What had begun as subtle absences and awkward exchanges was now an undeniable fracture, played out in the shadows of one of television's most popular supernatural dramas. Cracks were no longer rumors. They were fact. And soon, they would explode into a scandal that Hollywood could no longer keep hidden. By the spring of 2001, Charmed was a network hit entering its fourth season. But behind the curtain, the growing rift between Alyssa Milano and Shannen Doherty had reached breaking point. What had once been whispers in fan forums and gossip columns erupted into headlines that no one could ignore. The flashpoint came in April 2001, when news broke that Shannen Doherty would not be returning to the series. The announcement shocked fans. Entertainment Weekly's bold headline read, "Doherty, fired from Charmed after on-set feud." Overnight, the illusion of sisterhood collapsed. Shannen spoke candidly in interviews that year, offering her side of the story. On Entertainment Tonight, she admitted, "There was too much drama on set, and not enough passion for the work." The comment was a thinly veiled reference to her fractured relationship with Milano. In another interview with ET Canada, she added, "I want to work in an environment where people talk to each other, not behind each other's backs." It was a direct shot, and fans knew exactly who she meant. Alyssa Milano's response was more measured but no less telling. Appearing on The Rosie O'Donnell Show in 2001, she remarked, "The energy on set now is very calm, very positive." To critics, it sounded like a subtle confirmation that Shannen had been the source of tension. The two actresses were no longer hiding their disdain. It was simply reframed as professional differences. The press devoured the feud. The New York Times covered the departure, noting that Doherty had developed a reputation as difficult, going back to her 90210 days. The WB network, keen to protect its brand, avoided specifics but confirmed that creative differences had led to Shannen's exit. Fans weren't convinced. They debated fiercely in online forums, splitting into factions. #Team Shannen, defending her honesty, and #Team Alyssa, siding with the actress who stayed loyal to the show. The fallout was immediate on social media of the era, though primitive by today's standards. Fan websites created petitions demanding Doherty's reinstatement. Message boards exploded with theories. Was she pushed out by the network to elevate Milano? Did Milano threaten to leave if Doherty stayed? Though no hard evidence ever surfaced, the speculation was relentless. Meanwhile, tabloids painted the feud as a soap opera within a soap opera. The National Enquirer ran a cover story in May 2001 titled, "Charmed Star Walks Out Amid Catfight Chaos." Other outlets described shouting matches on set, though crew members later admitted those accounts were exaggerated. Still, perception mattered more than truth. For audiences, the takeaway was simple. These women were not friends, and never had To salvage the show's momentum, producers acted quickly. They cast Rose McGowan as Paige Matthews, a long-lost sister introduced in Season 4. It was a bold gamble, replacing a central character while insisting the family dynamic remained intact. At the 2001 WB Upfront presentation, Milano and McGowan appeared together on stage, smiling for photographers. Absent was Shannen, whose departure had been scrubbed from the official narrative. Yet, the feud continued to ripple outward. In a 2003 True Hollywood Story episode dedicated to Charmed, insiders confirmed that the tension between Milano and Doherty was palpable by Season 3. The special replayed the infamous quotes, Shannen's "too much drama," Alyssa's "calm now," cementing them as sound bites in Hollywood history. Fans still debate who was at fault. Some argue Doherty was unfairly villainized, her reputation as difficult exaggerated by a media hungry for conflict. Others point to Milano's growing influence with the WB executives, suggesting she played a role in pushing Shannen out. The truth may lie somewhere in between, but the damage was done. The illusion of sisterhood had shattered in full public view. By the end of 2001, what began as subtle absences and strained smiles had transformed into one of television's most infamous behind-the-scenes scandals. The Halliwell sisters remained on screen, but the bond between their actresses had been irreparably broken. The mask had shattered in public. And now, Hollywood had to reckon with the fallout. The immediate aftermath of Shannen Doherty's departure from Charmed was as dramatic as any storyline in the series itself. Fans who had grown attached to the Halliwell sisters struggled to imagine the show without its eldest sibling, Prue. Yet the WB and Spelling Television were determined to prove that the brand could survive, even thrive. Without her. Rose McGowan was quickly cast as Paige Matthews, the long-lost sister who would restore the power of three. When Season 4 premiered, in October 2001, curiosity drove viewers to tune in. The season opener, Charmed Again, drew 8.1 million viewers, slightly higher than the Season 3 finale. The numbers suggested that the scandal had not doomed the series. If anything, it had fueled interest. Still, the shadow of Doherty's exit loomed. Critics immediately dissected the new dynamic. The Los Angeles Times observed in 2001, while McGowan brings fresh energy, the absence of Doherty is unmistakable. The tension of the sisters has been replaced with something lighter, less grounded. Entertainment journalists framed the casting change as proof that television franchises could replace stars like interchangeable parts, so long as the illusion of family was maintained. For Alyssa Milano, the transition was complicated. On one hand, she became the de facto public face of Charmed. Promotional campaigns increasingly highlighted her, placing Phoebe at the center of posters and DVD covers. In interviews, she emphasized positivity on set, telling TV Guide in 2002, "We're a happy family now. It feels good." Yet those very words were read as subtle confirmation that the previous environment, dominated by Doherty, had been toxic. For Shannen Doherty, the consequences were more severe. Despite her undeniable talent, she carried the baggage of being branded difficult. Industry insiders recalled that after 90210 and now Charmed, she had been fired from 2 high-profile shows at the height of their popularity. In Hollywood shorthand, that made her risky. Offers dwindled, and although she took roles in TV movies and later hosted Scare Tactics, her reputation as a star who couldn't play nice followed her for years. The media exploited the feud for endless content. Think pieces in outlets like Salon and Entertainment Weekly asked broader questions. Why does Hollywood market female friendship so aggressively, only to tear it apart when real-life tensions arise? Was the feud between Milano and Doherty amplified because it fit a cultural script, the idea of women clashing rather than collaborating? Among fans, the divide hardened. Some applauded Milano for keeping the show stable and praised the addition of Rose McGowan. Others mourned what they saw as the true charmed ending with Season 3. At conventions years later, attendees would still ask Shannen about her exit, a reminder that, for many, her absence remained the show's great unresolved wound. The industry itself took lessons from the fallout. By the early 2000s, networks became more cautious in promoting cast sisterhoods. Publicists realized that selling the illusion of intimacy carried risks. When the illusion cracked, it became the story. The charmed feud was cited in a 2003 Variety article as an example of how off-screen narratives can overshadow the series itself. And yet, the show endured. Charmed ran for 8 seasons, becoming one of the WB's longest-running dramas. Its continuation suggested that while real-life friendships could fracture, the Hollywood machine could patch the illusion enough to keep viewers engaged. For the producers, the franchise had outgrown the actresses. For the women themselves. However, the consequences were personal and lasting. Alyssa Milano cemented her place as a steady television star, while Shannen Doherty carried the scars of a reputation that proved difficult to escape. What began as a private clash had reshaped not just a series, but 2 careers. The absence of Doherty's Prue became a character in its own right, a silent reminder of the fallout. Every time fans rewatched those early seasons, the ghost of that feud lingered, whispering beneath the spells and storylines. 2 decades after Shannen Doherty's dramatic departure from Charmed, the story of her fractured relationship with Alyssa Milano remains one of Hollywood's most discussed feuds. But why has it endured so strongly in cultural memory? The answer lies in what it revealed about the machinery of fame and about the way audiences consume stories of intimacy. At its core, the feud exposed how Hollywood packages friendship as a product. From the moment Charmed premiered in 1998, the WB sold the Halliwell sisters as more than just fictional witches. They were marketed as real sisters, women whose bond extended beyond scripts and sound stages. That illusion was crucial for fans who wanted to believe in the magic of sisterhood. And for a time, it worked flawlessly. But once the facade cracked, audiences were forced to confront a different reality. What they had been consuming was not friendship, but marketing. In that sense, the Milano-Doherty split became a cautionary tale. It highlighted the fragility of narratives built on publicity rather than genuine connection. The fake friendship became as much a part of Charmed's legacy as the power of 3 itself. The cultural impact extended beyond the series. Throughout the 2000s, journalists compared other female-led ensembles to the Charmed feud. When tensions surfaced on Sex and the City between Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall, writers invoked Milano and Doherty as precedent. Similarly, rumors of discord on Desperate Housewives were framed in the same template. Public sisterhood masking, private animosity. The template had been set. If a show sold female unity, audiences almost expected betrayal behind the scenes. Fans, meanwhile, developed sharper media literacy. The Charmed scandal taught them to question the carefully crafted narratives of best friends on set. By the time social media exploded in the late 2000s, audiences scrutinized Instagram posts and red carpet body language with forensic intensity, searching for cracks in celebrity relationships. In a way, Milano and Doherty's feud foreshadowed the era of parasocial analysis that dominates pop culture today. There is also the personal legacy. Shannen Doherty, who battled breast cancer publicly beginning in 2015, softened her image in the eyes of many fans. Tributes poured in recognizing her resilience and honesty. Yet even in these moments, interviewers still asked about Charmed. The feud had fused with her professional identity. For Alyssa Milano, who reinvented herself as both an actress and activist, the ghost of the feud lingered as well. In a 2017 Watch What Happens live interview, She carefully chose her words when asked about Shannen, saying only, "We're all older now, some wounds don't heal, but we move forward." The fact that such a brief statement made headlines shows how enduring the narrative remains. 2 decades later, the feud still shapes how fans interpret reruns, conventions, and even reunion rumors. Every whisper of a reboot triggers speculation. Could Milano and Doherty ever share the screen again? Would reconciliation be possible, or even believable? Ultimately, the legacy of Alyssa Milano and Shannen Doherty's broken bond is double-edged. On one hand, it underscores the ability of Hollywood to sustain a franchise even after its central illusion collapses. On the other, it serves as a reminder of how audiences invest emotionally in these illusions, only to feel betrayed when the truth surfaces. Charmed endures as a cult classic, streaming to new generations who may not even know the backstage drama. Yet for those who lived through the scandal, the magic of the Halliwell sisters is forever shadowed by the knowledge that behind the scenes, the sisters could barely stand each other. The lesson is clear. In Hollywood, friendship can be scripted, manufactured, and sold. But once the mask slips, the truth leaves a stain that no amount of reruns or nostalgic marketing can erase. And so, the question lingers for fans and industry insiders alike. If even sisters created by magic couldn't maintain real harmony, can any celebrity friendship survive under the glare of fame? The story of Alyssa Milano and Shannen Doherty is more than a tale of two actresses who couldn't get along. It is a mirror held up to Hollywood itself, revealing how easily the industry crafts illusions of closeness, and how swiftly those illusions can unravel. For some fans, Charmed will always carry the ghost of Prue Halliwell. For others, the show's legacy proves that no brand, no bond, is truly immune to fracture. But what about you? Do you believe Alyssa and Shannen were ever truly friends? Or was their bond always a performance for cameras and contracts? Was it sisterhood, or simply business dressed as magic? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the debate alive. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden fractures of Hollywood, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Because here at Secrets Behind the Fame, the untold stories are just getting started.